Hi everyone, my name is Nana. I've met a few of you guys. I can remember your names and the calls that you know me, but some of you I haven't met yet. So I've worked in Swoop now for 2.5 years and have been a grant account manager as well as working on the advisor side, which is what we'll be talking about today. So in this webinar, we'll cover a bit about what the current landscape looks like, how we work with it in Swoop, and then essentially how it can benefit you in your practice. So the host of this webinar will be Annie and myself, so I'll just let Annie introduce herself as well.
Hi everyone, thanks for attending. I'm Annie. I work on the customer success side, helping our advisors get the most out of the partnership with us.
Nice. So for us to start this webinar, we've made a small poll. So Laura, who's in the background of this, will just shortly open that, and then it'll be about, have you ever looked at grants on either behalf of yourself or your client? So if you could just drop that answer in so we know what we're dealing with, because we know a lot of people maybe have looked at it in the past and some have just never even dared to look at it, which is one of the things we'll be going through as well. And then just a bit of housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded. So if there's any parts of it you're missing or parts of it you'd like to rewatch, you can go in to the recording we'll be sending around tomorrow. And we strongly encourage everyone to ask questions in the Q&A box so we know we're covering what is relevant for yourself and your practice. It will be hard to answer a question about what is in a particular business, like what will be available for them, because there's so many grants in the landscape, but again, we'll cover that later on. So just in case we say it's too broad, that will most likely be why, but use the Q&A rather than the chat for those questions. And then we'll just give it a minute, and then, yeah, I think that has closed down now. So we'll get the result from Laura in just a second, but what we'll do this webinar as is a Q&A. So we've gotten a few questions prior to us joining this webinar, which is great. And then Annie will be asking those, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. But if we look at the results at first, we can see 10% says it's easy to find grants, which is really nice to see that people have been using it and hopefully winning them as well. 20% says it was a nightmare doing it and it was so hard to find, which is what I'd say we've experienced quite a lot with advisors and clients who get into Swoop working with us. And then 70% says no, either they've never been asked or they wouldn't know where to start. So hopefully we will be able to help with that after this session. And then any questions, I'll link my contact details afterwards, and then feel free to reach out to me to get the answer you need. So any
Super. So thanks to those of you that have sent in questions ahead of the webinar. It's really useful. I will run through them and ask Nana who's going to answer them. So Nana, the first one that came in was, what does the current grant landscape look like?
Yes, and that is always a really tricky one to answer because it depends on whereabouts in the country, but also in the world you are. So I know we have a few tuning in from the UK, which is the majority, but we also have a few from Ireland. So depending on which country you're in, it will be slightly different. So what we see is that often they are regional based or based on what area you're trading in. So that's both in Ireland and the UK. They have different, in England, it's called local enterprise partnerships, which is divided into 38 of these, and they have different funding pools where in Ireland, it's mainly in Enterprise Ireland who's the main distributor of these grants. So it's hard to give that exact one, but with this Swoop Grant Finder, you'd be able to see based on the sector and location, which is the main matching points you'll be looking at for grants. you'll be able to see some matches based on this. And at the moment, before going on this webinar, I just checked, we have more than 530 live grants across all regions. So hence why I said in the beginning, we won't be able to say anything specific about what's there for this specific company. But what we've seen recently, which is really nice, is that we've slowly come up to the place where Brexit isn't affecting it that much. So just after Brexit, we saw that there was a dip in funding available because we've been used to in the UK to have what we call the ERDF, which is stands for the European Regional Development Fund, to fund the majority of the grants that we do see in the market. And with Brexit, we were told that that would be taken care of and it would be nice, but it has taken a bit of time before we saw it coming into play. And now the UK Shared Prosperity Fund have grown more and more and luckily enough released more and more grants. So it is slowly getting back to where we saw it before that. And with those, it does mean there's a big focus on both local communities, businesses, and more or less the rural areas compared to the cities. So we're in a steady place at the moment and seeing quite a few grants, which is lovely because it's always something businesses are very interested in.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nana. And what are the different types of grants? Can you explain the differences?
Yes, so in Swoop, we kind of split it into two. You could probably split it into more if you were looking at it, but we split it into what we call local grants and what we call innovation grants. For local grants, it's what I just touched on, is the local partnership that is in that area will have a pot of funds, and then based on that, they will distribute that amongst the participants. And often there is a first come, first serve basis. So it's not a set deadline, but once the funds has been used up, there's nothing more to do, which is why it's very important to being proactive. They tend to be in the smaller region when looking at grant funding, so up to about £25,000, but can be used to growing the business and doesn't have to be that specific. Sometimes it does change, so I'd always check the scope to see what is available. And then the other type of grants which I just touched on is innovation grants. So you might have heard of Innovate UK or Horizon Europe, which is a European scheme, which is where the majority of these funding will be available from. Often to be eligible for these, there needs to be a bigger and innovative touch point. So often it's within the tech space, but it can be towards a variety of different areas. But the main focus it is something that's not in the current market, and it's filling some kind of gap that we do see. And they then tend to be the larger size, which is everything from 50,000 up to a few millions, where I'd say the sweet spot is a few 100,000, and it's very competitive as it's often open to a wide business group. So it's often open to, let's say, the entire Europe or to the entire of UK. So it can be quite competitive to win these.
Fantastic. And what are the application processes with the different grants? How do our clients go and apply?
Yes, so if you're an advisor who've signed up to Swoop, you'll be able to see the matches based on the client you input into your portal. So as I said before, that will be based on the industry and the location that you've put in, so you'll be able to see them. With the local ones, often the application process seems to be straightforward. I say often because obviously that's not always the case when it comes to funding as a whole, but often you'd have to say what is the grant being used for, and what are the benefits to the provider as well, because that's why they are offering these grants, because they'll see some kind of take back an advantage for themselves. The innovation side is a bit more complex, so often that's pages on pages of doing the application. So if you have a client in the space where you think they do something very innovative and something that's rather unique, I would recommend reaching out to yourself because we do partner with a few different grant writers who works in this space every single day and sits on both sides of the assessment table. So they see loads of applications coming in, knows what is working, what is being counted on, and then they do the applications themselves as well. So there are those two types where the low code seems to be easier to get, and then the higher the grant fund gets, the harder it gets to get them.
Fantastic. And are there any industries or areas where you see more grants than others?
Yes, so a big topic at the moment, or a big focus point on both the innovation and local side, is energy and sustainability. So energy improvement, energy efficiency. Is there anything a business can do to lower their carbon footprint? And that I would say is the majority of one towards that net zero goal that the UK has put as what they'd like to do. Other than that, the focuses change, I'd say, about every 3 months. So we often see some, like a few grants come available in the innovation space towards a specific sector, and then it can go a year, if not more, before we see something else opening up again. A great example is one of the current ones that is open towards the creative industries. So that's a very niche one because often the creative industries doesn't have that much grants available for them. So we're seeing one open at the moment, and the last one open to that industry was a year ago. So it is about timing in this space, but currently what we're seeing is that transportation and automotive tech, farming, health, and healthcare is what we see a large proportion of the grants being targeted towards. And then we've recently started to see these cross-border partnerships where if you partner with a company abroad, so that could be a German company, there are some grants available towards the research and development, which is a bit broader, but as long as you have a partner there, there could be something. So that's the current market, but again, that will change from time to time.
Super. And what value can providing grant information give to an accounting firm?
Yes, that's probably where the majority of you guys are interested in hearing it. So the companies I've been working closely with have secured grants for their clients, and they've done that for more than £100,000 now, which is great to see that it actually does work. And once you start being proactive with it, it is starting to help. So the two top reasons, because I work with clients directly at Swoop as well, and the two top reasons people are not going to apply for a grant or going to look for it is one, they just assume there's nothing there. They assume there's nothing there because they might do something that's been seen before, but still helping the local areas. So that's number one. And then number two is they just don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know like the lingo, and they don't know what all of these documents needed will request. So by providing this as an accountancy firm, you can first of all add extra benefits and services to your clients. So by saying we'll do I don't know, a quarterly, maybe half a year check to see if there's any new grants coming up, that would save the business owner you're working with a massive amount of time because they don't need to research that themselves. They don't need to stay on top of it, and you can stay on top of that by the help of Swoop. It gives you this USP, I'd say, to differentiate yourself towards the other accountancy practices out there. So you'd be able to say, we can help you with grants, which is essentially money you can get in but don't have to pay back, which is why everyone would want to have it if they could. Other than that, it could potentially provide you with extra revenue and extra services for that business. So the grants always have different types of documents that is needed when applying for it, but often they need something like a business plan, cash flow forecast, budgets, recent accounts, all of that. So depending on what is needed in the specific grant they're looking for, you can then provide the help that is needed there. And we also do have a few partners that does the grant writing for their clients for these smaller ones. As I touched on, that tends to be like an easy not being the right word here, but it tends to be a more streamlined process where it doesn't take too much knowledge of it to be able to do it, and then you can win that on behalf of your client and charge a bit of extra, yeah, service charges.
Amazing. And how does Swoop help me and my clients with grants?
Yes, so the majority of things that we do in Swoop is find the grants and locate them for you so you don't have to spend a lot of time doing the research. So if you have your advisor portal in Swoop, you'll be able to add a client, add them with the company's house information, and then based on the location and the sector, you'd be able to see a list of matches and then check each of these grants to see, okay, it might be a bit specific, but there might be something there for them still. Often with the local ones, they tend to be broader there. It's rarely that there's sectors that they say this is absolutely a no-go, but obviously that does happen where they say it has to be within, I don't know, the hospitality sector, for instance. So that would be the first point of like service we provide is help to find what's available. You'd have a dedicated account manager as well and a customer success manager who can help you if there's some of it that doesn't really make sense, or if you just want to make like a further research to see is there anything else that we could provide them. Let's say they have a registered address in London, but they're trading and doing some activities in Liverpool. There might be something for that as well. So that's the main thing. And then, as I said, if there's any innovation involved within it and they want to go for these bigger grants, we can then help with our partnerships. And we have our trusted partners that we've been working on over the past 5 years to figure out that who we have in our network is who we believe are the best. So to give a bit of insight into what the benefits of using a partner does is if we look at the Smart Grant, which is the biggest Innovate UK competition. So it's basically open to every area of tech, which doesn't help the applicants because they're competing with every tech company out there, and can be so broad. So they have about a 5% success rate. So out of everyone applying for it, only 5% of them actually goes through it and gets the money at the end. Whereas on our partner side, they have at least a 60% success rate. So that's just has helped them a lot. And the reason they have that is because they have the discovery chat with you beforehand to see, okay, is this an actual fit? So first of all, is it a fit for the Smart Grant? But second of all, is there another grant that could be better, that are more niche? Because they tend to be that it's not as competitive because it's maybe only be towards the health tech areas. So we locate the best possible grant and then through that make the application for yourself and or your client, and then they can do that in a different way as well. So if you want to do parts of the application for your client or your client want to do part of it themselves, they can do a review service or they can do the full ride where you don't have to think about it and it's being taken care of for you. So I'd say those are the main reasons to use Swoop and how we work with advices.
Amazing. That's a wild success rate using the help there. Are there any grants that we can get for our accounting firm?
Yes, so currently I'm not aware of anyone being out there, but it is something we've helped people with in the past. So there might be some of the local grants that you can go and apply for yourself to see is there anything towards their consultancy fees? They're like uh, towards new equipment. So if you need an update of what you currently have in the offices, and then there's general growth of the business. We saw in the past there was a professional service innovation grant as well, which a few of our partners applied for because they were looking into this cloud tech to see, is there anything we can do differently that will massively improve how we work, but also can be applicable to other accountants that can benefit of this. So that is one we're expecting and really hoping for opening up either in the summer or late autumn. Because that was just an amazing grant towards this industry, which again tends to be overlooked in terms of what is available from an innovation point of view, at least. Other than that, we've actually helped clients of accountants secure funding towards some of the accountants' fee. So that could be a grant that helps up to 40% of the fee for consultancy, business advisors, accountants, other people that are helping in that way. So we've actually helped, yeah, the clients get a discount without you guys feeling the hit from that discount. So there are a few different ways it can effectively benefit you in the end. But again, I would upload yourself to the Swoop platform and see if there's any local ones, because that would be the first point of action. And then if there's any money out there, I'd recommend going for it, because the worst thing that could happen is the application is being rejected. But the best case scenario is you get extra money into your business so you don't have to pay it back.
Fantastic. So that is the questions that we had in before. So thanks again, everyone, for emailing those through. We've got a Q&A box just at the bottom there. If you've got any questions, now is the chance to ask them and to ask Nana. So please do put your questions in the Q&A and we'll start sifting through those. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Great. So I can see one here. Someone has asked, how often should we be checking for new grants for our clients?
Yes, and that's a really good question, because as I touched on with the local ones, it's often first comes, first served basis. So the earlier you or the client knows about it, the better, because then there's a bigger chance of it not being closed yet. But our grant finder tool is updated on a daily basis. So we have a whole team on the back of this that researches every part of the internet to find if there's anything we've been missing. So often I'd recommend, like, a rule of thumb is checking it every 3 months to see if there's anything new. Luckily enough, like, once you've uploaded them to the platform, you just click into the company name and you'd be able to see the live matches. So once we update something in our backend on the Grant Finder tool, you'll be able to see it in real time to make sure there's nothing you've missed for that specific client. So every 3 months, or depending on how often you have your regular chats with them, let's say you have it on a um, by monthly basis, or maybe a half year, only a year. So before the meeting, you can just go in and check, is there anything that would be nice for me to bring into this meeting to say, did you know about this? This is grant you can use towards X, Y, and Z, and then hopefully that will help them as well.
Fantastic. And someone has just asked, where can I find the available grants on the Swoop for Advisors portal?
Yes, so assuming you have a login, if you don't, email me after this and we'll be able to sort this for you. Once you've added the client and filled in the information that says find a grant as the funding requirement, you'll be able to see, once you're in the dashboard of it, there is one called matches up in the top, just underneath the business name. Go to matches, and then the default one will be loans, but there will be loans, equity, and grants. If you then click on grants, it will show the matches towards that specific business.
Super, thanks, Nana. And another one, where a grant needs matched funding or there is tranche funding for Innovate UK, where it's paid in arrears, is Swoop able to help with that?
Yes, so obviously for the ones of you working with Swoop, but also for the ones who doesn't, we're a one-stop shop for everything finance related. So there might be some parts where often especially the innovation grants, you get the funding or you get approval for the funding, but you have to spend the money invoice Innovate UK, and then you've already spent the money you're getting in, which obviously for some businesses will affect the cash flow quite significantly. So we have a few different products we recommend and we think works really well with grants. So the first one is grant advance funding. So you can actually do so you advance what you know will come in, because it's kind of like putting security down on a loan, because you know we are getting this money from the government. So it's not really a question of either or. So that they can advance the funding so you have it, and then once you get paid from Innovate UK, they'll take a small percentage of that. Other than that, we do see other loan products working really well, depending on what sector they're in and what they are looking for. That will depend on what is the best option for them, which is why we would then, if let's say you won a grant or your client did, we would match you with whoever is relevant in Swoop as well to make sure you're getting, if it's a loan, the cheapest possible one, so you're not paying an excessive amount of interest rates on top of it. So it will depend on the business and the sector they're in, depending on what is available.
Fantastic, thank you. And a question in, is there a way of flagging by email areas and specific industries that are hot for grants so we can think of clients that it would be appropriate to then maybe speak to?
Yes, so unfortunately at this stage, we don't have email notifications saying a new grant has been added to your client or a new match has been added. What we do is grant newsletters. So on a monthly basis, we as a team have highlighted what we think are the most relevant ones at the moment and any trends we do see in the market. So if you are signing up to that, again, if you're not signed up for that one, drop me an email afterwards and we'll get you added into it. But once you have signed up for that, you'll be able to see at least 4 to 5 grants every month that has a specific focus, either from Innovate UK themselves or what we see in the market as being the most hot ones. So that would hopefully help both with existing clients, but also going out to, yeah, clients you maybe haven't won over yet. But again, going and saying, did you notice this for your industry is just a massive win from the get-go.
Super. And one more, someone has asked, why is Swoop focusing on grants? Why do you have a grant finder?
Yes, so for Swoop itself, we don't make money out of the grant services. So if we find a match for you and you go and apply for it yourself or your client does, we don't make anything out of that. And it's again one of the things I'm being asked quite a lot, like that doesn't make sense. Like how does that work? But the reason Swoop got founded in the first place is because our CEO, Andrea, was looking for grants for businesses and found it to be such a hassle and such a jungle just to navigate into what's available for that one. And then you're going to a different region and it's different rules and different grants available. So she wanted to do it so it's easy accessible, and then every business can go in and see what it like what's there for them. Which is why, yeah, we started this service line of ours in the first instance. So that's more of like an add-on benefit, if you'd like, rather than something that's a big revenue line for Swoop, just to be completely honest. Like, it's to do what's best for the client so we know they're not taking out silly money if they could get it somewhere else.
Amazing. And have Swoop's advisors helped any clients receive grants?
Yes, so as I briefly touched on before, we have seen quite a few successes from a variety of different firms. So some of our advisors work with us solely because of this grant service. So they are not interested in loans, equity, or business savings, at least from the get-go. So they start working with us to see, is there anything available for their clients and is there anything they can go into those meetings with? So luckily enough and nice to know, we've secured a lot of grants for them and helped them match it. And quite a few of them, it's nice to know it's something they wouldn't have seen unless they saw it on the Swoop website, which for me is like why I'm doing this job, is to make sure they see all the matches rather than just what is being thrown at them or what they see on the first page in Google. So we've helped a few different sectors, but mainly on the local side of things. So we have had a few different innovation successes, but they tend to be smaller. So we have, the local ones which are nice. So we've helped people get new equipment, so computers and printers and stuff for their office, and we've helped them, as I said before, save money on what they pay the accountants without the accountants feeling that hit themselves.
Amazing. And we've got one more that's just come in. Do we pay a monthly fee to use your services and how much? So this one, I think we have a few different options, and we can certainly send that over with the webinar recording.
Nice. It looks like this was the questions being asked so far, at least, and I can see we're just running up to the 30-minute mark as well, so worked out quite well in terms of time. Um, my email, if you want to reach me or have any questions on the back of it, is nana@Swoop Funding, so NANNA. Laura just posted it there in the chat as well, so don't hesitate reaching out to me and sending me an email if there's any questions, small or big, I don't really mind. And then, yeah, as Danny said, we'll send more information about everything on the back of it, and then you'll get the recording of this webinar as well. So I think the only thing left for us is thanking you guys so much for taking the time out of your day and, yeah, joining this webinar. And we hope it was useful for you guys, and you know a bit more about the grants market now.